we will get the lighting. Hi guys. It looks like I'm about to tell mystery stories. Maybe we can get this. Hold on. Adjustments. Oh, we should have to do it like that. Hey guys. Yeah, I don't like it. I just, one day maybe, I doubt it though. I don't know. I said, I don't have a lot of options for that. Hey, I'm trying to think how oh, yeah, let's go chill over there. Oh, even that is, oh, okay, that's all I needed to do. That was just too much. Okay. Hi. That's good. Glad you guys liked some of the readings. How's everything going? Hi, Kathy. Hi, November Sun. Hi, Alien Unicorn. That's awesome. Let's see. So bear with me because this was a little bit new. Good. Okay. Yeah. Let's dive in. I am wearing shorts. You could just see my legs. All right. So I just have to pull up the questions really quick because there were quite a few. Yeah, we do all have legs. That's true. I was, what am I saying? There was quite a few comments or questions on Instagram. Some of them are very personal. And I was not really expecting that. I thought people would be like, oh, but I'll do what I can and get to the questions that I can. So we'll dive in. This is a little bit different, huh? Yeah? I love you guys. Yeah, you guys are awesome. Yeah, when was the last time? It's been a while since I was live. I was just super focused on some stuff I needed to accomplish. So I apologize. Like, there were just a lot of things that came up over the past couple months, and I was just like trying to take care of it on the side of doing the readings. So, but everyone is good. Are you all alive? Are you ready for the? Yeah, I have cards in here too. I don't know if I'll do them because I'd rather just keep this to the quantum stuff because, to be honest, like, this might be boring to some people, but that really was the reason why I made this channel. Was, yeah, tarot, but I really love quantum stuff. You don't have to, you can ask questions in here, actually. Just so you guys know up front too, I'm not gonna do predictions. Okay? The whole quantum questions things, it's not like, oh, and it's totally okay. I understand maybe I should have been a little bit more clear, but I'm not gonna do anything like, will I get this, when's my next relationship gonna be? It's not like that. So I apologize. That's just super overwhelming to do. That's totally fine. And that was my bad because, yeah, quantum questions, maybe it seems like, oh, I can ask for a prediction. So it's totally fine. But just to be clear, this will be mainly about like generalized questions kind of involving entanglement and quantum physics and stuff. So let me just Download all the ones from IG. How are you guys? Where are you at in the world? Well, let's just start on some of this since, although there were some questions I really wanted to get into first over on Instagram that like peeps ask questions first. And this was so funny. Some of the questions were really hilarious. Like I was like, whoa. Wasn't expecting that. Oh well. But nothing bad. People were like, people have been super respectful, surprisingly. Like, I always wait for really crazy things to come up when I do stuff like this, but actually, it was really good. So, I appreciate you guys throwing out some really freaking deep, introspective questions. I was like, nice, this is the juice, this is the stuff. Nice, okay, we've got, where are we at? Yeah, California. That's cool. I have not heard of that person. Oklahoma, England. Lots of Oklahoma. Look at that. Baltimore, Canada, Michigan, Florida, Massachusetts, Kentucky, Virginia, Belgium. How nice. Yeah, totes. So ask questions if you want. Just throw it in there. Why not? So, yeah, it's been a bit. Um, like I said, I just wanted to make sure before going on live, like certain things going on in my life were taken care of. And I was a little bit more settled because for a while I was just like, so yeah. Um, LA, nice. New York, Montana, North Carolina, Australia. Love it. Oh, yeah, totes. Does healing your heart help kick off your career? 100%. Yes. No question about that. Yeah, let's talk eclipses. We'll get into that too. I gave myself plenty of time to sit on here and ramble with you guys. So, yeah. People, I have had quite a few questions like that. Um, if I'm single or dating anyone. If you guys don't mind, we'll just stick to the quantum stuff. New Zealand. Okay. Oh, good stuff. Okay, okay. Let's get into this. Let me do the Instagram ones first, because that's going to be a bit. And then I will go back through and try to hit on these questions. Plus, I have the comments that came through. So there's quite a few, but I really tried to address certain things. And Instagram didn't have like a whole lot of quantum physics ones. So yeah, I definitely think we're being upgraded 100% on that. I do muscle testing. It's a very different way. Are you talking like kinesiology for muscle testing? Okay. I love you guys. Oh, fingers, interesting. Okay. Okay, let's dive in. Because I can get into the comments and never come out. Like I have figured that out about when I do lives. I've got to like find a good way to um, keep myself focused while I do these lives. Okay. So the very first one that came in, who was it by? Where are you? Was from This will be a bit, so I apologize. So hopefully you guys are cool to just chill with me. Um, where was it? Where was hers? Nope. Oh, I actually really want to start with this one too. Okay, this question was from Bubbaloo. That's adorable. Is it possible to go back in time on a quantum level to affect the present? Yes. And let me explain the details of it. When you combine, like, it's actually related in a way to CPTSD because, as you guys have known, I've brought up quite a bit on the channel. There's this book called The Body Keeps the Score. It's all scientific based. It's all like, I can't remember if the author was a psychologist. I'm pretty sure he was a psychologist because he was working with a lot of PTSD survivors, like soldiers and war veterans and people like that that have been through a significant amount of trauma. And so he talked about how the body stores it. Thank you. Yeah, Vanderkolk. And so there there's this specific thing that happens when you go through a traumatic event. First off, yeah, and Gaber Mate. I always struggle saying his name. He's another one that I would say is like leading this whole movement. All right. And so what happens is if you guys have known in cold therapy, what they'll do is they almost reenact a traumatic experience, but they give you the tools to navigate through it. So it's this whole like not technology, it's this whole kind of psychological approach to addressing quantum. Like, I know trauma might not always sound the most enjoyable to talk about or to get into, but it's super helpful to understand like what's going on in your present reality and why you're dealing with blocks, because any kind of block in your current reality is a holographic projection of a blocked energy internally. Now, when we say go back in time, we're talking about that when you start doing specific things alchemically to address your body, and it's a little bit more helpful when you are in a hermit mode, when you're kind of isolated, and when you're and it's not always so motivating to do this, but it's super helpful because like you can you can get a lot of work done. Does that make sense? So what you do there we go. When you start taking a very specific approach to like body alkalinity, then currently like you can recreate the emotional experience even though it's not exactly happening, but that's the way that you kind of go back to the past in a quantum way and you can play out CPTSD. It's not very enjoyable because you feel like you're in the midst of that experience, even though it's just emotional. But my whole theory is that traumatic experiences first happen inside the body, chemical miswirings, and then it manifests on the outside. So that's the way I was trying to explain that, even though it might not sound as technical like time travel, but you actually can go back to an experience and redo things, and then you can take a different path. Like you can make a different choice. Because sometimes if you make a choice and it's whatever, a mistake, or you go down a particular path and you finally realize at the end of that result where you made the decision from vibrationally, being human, it's helpful when you play things out and then you have to go back, like you process, you can see very clearly how you got to that point. It's more clear when you're down a bit of a ways, then you can look back and be like, okay, so this is how I got here. Now let's try this approach. It's like Seven of Cups, but you're like, so you can take a different path. But a lot of the times, what happens is if you're doing it out of a vibration of fear, plus whatever other chemicals are going on in environment or food, the combination comes together. And when it like takes you down a path, then you gotta backtrack a little bit and undo the karma inside of your body, which can be a bit of a struggle. Yeah, it can be a vagal nerve reset. The vagus nerve is involved in that. So those are really great techniques. There's just so many different techniques to undo karma in the body. Okay? So I hope that answers that question. But like that kind of stuff, I was like, dude, these questions are bomb. I love it. So, where was my other sweet girl? Okay. Okay, this question was by Helena Dominica. She's a sweetheart. How does consciousness connect into the mind in quantum biology terms? Okay, so I'm going to just give my take and my theory on it because, like, I'm not even going to be egotistical enough to say, like, this is what it is. Here's my here's my answer to it. Here's what my take is on it. Okay, so in the 70s, I believe it was, yes. Um, was he an astrophysicist? Roger Penrose? And he was probably the first one that talked about how consciousness was affecting. No, was this the 70s? Yes. But he talked about, I could be confusing different scientists because I've like watched too many at this point. But he talked about how consciousness was the thing that was affecting quantum abilities just because of the double slit experiment and everything. Yeah. 70s, 80s, when him and Stephen Hawking were all sorts of like big time getting into the quantum world and stuff. So he was the first one that talked about that just because of the double slit experiment, because everyone was like, how does it affect it if like you're looking at it and it is a particle, but you look away and it's a wave? Like, so that's why they were thinking that consciousness was affecting quantum abilities. This was before Ram Dass, though. So, how does consciousness connect into the mind in quantum biology terms? Okay, so when it comes to quantum biology or quantum physics, whatever you want to call it, I mean, they're pretty much really freaking similar. But consciousness to me is alkalinity and environment. So I think that there's this combination of things that plays into effect. Like when you combine alkalinity, that's good. Alkalinity and then like your thoughts are so freaking powerful. And me personally, like when I've played around with water fasting, I have tried it with a positive mindset and also been in a very pessimistic mindset. And it's not pretty what happens when you're pessimistic or negative doing that. So, consciousness is like, I guess the way that I would describe it is that I'm not making sense because I spent all day today really thinking about that question. It's a really good question. But I think it's your ability to move past, like, my sensei talks about the mind of one and then the mind of, what does she say? The mind of two? So the mind of two, and then you can have a perspective on your ability to have a perspective. So it's like really fascinating, these different mind techniques that you can go through to shift your level of consciousness, which will also affect your neurological, like your physiology. So, I mean, yeah, it could be a bit, it's not necessarily logic. I don't know, it's like, it's such a different practice, it's hard to explain, but she talks about this concept of like, when you're in the mind of one, you have this ability, and she just has a way of doing it that nobody else can do it. I can't even recreate it or mimic her. She just has this ability to take that separation that you feel from another person, because that's something chemical, I think, going on, which is affecting the consciousness. And then you'll see someone separate than you. And we all do this. I struggle with it too. But whoever you're dealing with is just an aspect of yourself, and the separation you feel is just a reflection of a separation that's happened within your mind, maybe even your biological makeup. I mean, who really knows? But when it comes to quantum biology, there's just like so many tiny little things inside of the body that are working together, like your gut microbiome. And you've got, like, in quantum biology, they have, the way that they explain quantum tunneling is how certain chemicals have been going in and causing gene mutations and stuff. And I think that consciousness, I have to be really delicate how I say this, because it has the potential to make me sound judgmental. So I'm being very cautious and delicate how I word things, but I'm trying to introduce these different things to try to approach consciousness. Consciousness is such a fluid, airy fairy topic to grasp onto because it doesn't make sense. And I don't think that the logical mind can really 100% explain it. You know what I mean? So I really don't want to get into it more because I think I will humbly say that I don't think I can fully even explain how consciousness. All I know is that with the double slit experiment, like, consciousness can affect quantum entities. And that is very real, okay? Your ability to cause something. And that's why one thing that I talked about, where did I put this? Was it my recent post? Yes. I did this recent post about alkalinity, and it was over on my Instagram where I talked about how your soul is alkaline and the matrix is acidic. And I've been thinking a lot about how our current reality has been constructed, and I was like, even buildings, I think that humans have constructed a really particle-based reality when there was the potential for this to be more wavelength, right? Like, imagine what could have been going on at the quantum level that caused everything to be constructed in a particle way. Like, this chair is a particle. it can only be in this one place. Nothing else can occupy it. But imagine if things were constructed in a different way, if things were maybe more alkaline, maybe, that everything in this reality would be like mind blowing. You know, what is the potential that could happen? But we're destroying so much of the environment, and that's really not good because that's how you become alkaline. So, okay. Okay. I'm going to move on from that because it's too much. Okay. Somebody asked what I was doing before tarot reading. Okay. Where was the other thing? Oh, yes. Okay. There was a really great guy that asked all these amazing questions, and I wanted to. Instagram is so hilarious because, like, when you post a question thing, you can only write like a sentence. And it's really funny. So if you have like this long question, like with the details so you can explain yourself correctly, it doesn't allow you to do that. So this guy geniusly sent me quite a few. They're just in separate pieces, so I have to try to put it together. This was by Darcy Blake. Everything exists in a quantum state of energy at a frequency, and we project and perceive reality from, where are you? Ah, an energetic state of being, as in we perceive objects as simply projections of energy at frequency. Then, how is body chemistry anything more than a perception of reality that encompasses? Oh, yeah, I remember what came up for me while I was reading his question. Um, oh, that encompasses our perception of reality. A red book is not red as we see it. The frequency and energy of red is rejected, and we perceive the red through our optic nerve or third eye in electromagnetic radiation, which we perceive as we do. But what of chemicals or hormones or any bodily chemicals we perceive? Is it also a perception of our projection of reality? Okay, this might not even have anything to do with the question, but this is like intuitively what came to me when I was reading that. So I'm just gonna like go with the intuitive approach on this because I think I can kind of grasp like a different way to explain this. Okay, so I've talked about, I think, this guy a little bit before. I met this really cool guy a while ago, and he was a biochemist, and I really want to have a conversation with him on here. So I'm gonna not talk about what he said personally because like I would leave that up to him. He was a really, it was such a fun conversation because like anytime I come across anyone else that is into science even a little bit, I am like, yeah, like let's be friends, you know? So when I was talking to this guy who's a biochemist, and I asked him specifically how scientists can know 100% that their findings or the, you know, whatever result that they get, how can they know for sure that it's accurate because of quantum physics? And this is like a tricky, like, this is a tricky thing for a metaphysics person to have a conversation with a biochemist because, like, I'm a little bit more into the quantum physics and the woohoo, and he's like very biology, science based, like, you know, here's the proof and the result and the evidence. But one thing is, you always, like, the tricky thing about it is that every time you go back to the double slit experiment, it throws off everything. So I really can't 100% grasp how. everyone has been so concrete about their findings because that one thing that your observation can affect a quantum entity to behave differently. How could you even believe anything that's constructed in this reality? Yeah, I love Sapolsky so much. He's like one of my. Every time I listen to him, I am like, I get this renewed passion for science and everything. But yes, that's what I was trying to get at. And this guy was really great. He was like, we don't know 100%. And like, I think that in and of itself really gives like a tiny bit of validity to conspiracy theorists. Not gonna lie, like quantum physics actually would kind of like validate conspiracy theorists because there's just that things are at the quantum level are just you can't explain it. And it makes you question everything that has been constructed in this reality, especially the more that we talk about brain chemicals and dopamine and how like a lot of the social media stuff is affecting dopamine, for example, you know? So it's a tricky thing. But um I will give you guys this for example too, okay? When you take your body and you go back from all the chemical programming that's happened and you go back to the most simplest form you can put it back in. For example, being raw vegan, because that's what I've pretty much had to do. So, like, that has made me, like, anytime I eat something, I can immediately tell the chemical reaction and how it's affecting my perspective. So that's why I might sound very rigid or emperor, like, this is how this is, because of, yeah, like that hypersensitivity. And so, like, for example, yeah, I can talk about this. This okay. So, like quite a long time ago, I had some. No, I'm not going to talk about it. No, I'm not going to. So, I'll just say that certain chemicals, like for example, okay, um, mangoes and what are the other things? Oh, cashews. Like cashews are really fascinating. They actually kind of follow along. They have this specific chemical in them. It starts with a U. It's like urethyl. If you guys can Google that and put it in here, I would super appreciate it. Like put the toxic chemical that's in cashews. I know. Wait until I ruin cashews for you guys. Um, there's like this poison or a toxic chemical that's in cashews, unfortunately. And that's why to be able to like get that toxic chemical out, they have to roast it. Thank you. Urushiol. I was so close. Wow, I'm super impressed because I was like, how am I going to remember that word? Urushiol. I don't know how to pronounce it, but you know what I mean. So it has this chemical in it that actually, like, I have this theory that all of those chemicals, yeah, raw cashews are super toxic. And even roasted, it's not good. They have to roast it to like get rid of that urushiol, but then you kill the whole nut. So it's dead energy. So you kill all the nutrients when you roast it. So cashews are like super, and the way I've been perceiving it, like, dude, I try to stay away from social media as much as possible now, but like, what was the thing? Oh, yeah. I would say, yeah, pecans are actually really toxic too. Yeah. Shiitake mushrooms are really toxic. But here's what I was gonna say. So, I've even been cautious about drinking tea, which is like very different for me because, like, occasionally, what's up with that hair? Occasionally, like, I used to have a lot of burdock root tea and stuff. But see, I'm getting like distracted by the comments. There's this like huge controversy. No, I'll hold off on that. Sorry. I always have to be cautious about what I say on the lives because yeah, once it's up on social media, it's out there. The only nuts that are good are walnuts and Brazil nuts. But even Brazil nuts, you can only have like one a day because if you have more, actually, I am going to say this, okay? There are tons. Okay, over the past few years, maybe 3 to 5 years, Sabi has blown up. Him and Robert Morse are like the big guru guys of health and stuff and the natural stuff, like different than pharmaceuticals, like big pharma. And what was I saying? Yeah, sorry, weeps into her hands. Um, what was I saying? Dang it. See, I get Kate. See, and these are the comments that I'm gonna get that are gonna be like, guess what? It doesn't matter if it's off of a fresh tree, cashews in Costa Rica. Yeah, I'm gonna say this. Immediately, it's not like it's gonna poison you and you're gonna die. Okay? I'm just saying, like, those tiny little things, you have to look at it from a different perspective. That there are many things that add up into all the health issues that are going on today. Okay? Yes. It's a lot of things combined. And the reason why I'm talking about the small little things that seem kind of insignificant, but it's actually throwing off your ability to be able to like be highly connected. Like think about different why can I never think of this word too? And what was the other track I was getting down and I got thrown off of it? What was that? What was it I was talking about? I know I need to write this down. What was I saying? I was talking about. Do you guys know what I was saying? What was it? Oh, yes. Sabi and Robert Morse. So they were the ones that kind of like blew up. Oh, this is what I was going to say. Wow, did I get way off base? So, like, especially over on Instagram, tons of people have been blowing up and making all this content. See, you guys are going to literally have to deal with how my brain works because this is just what it does. It bounces back and forth. So I really do apologize. I know that's probably really annoying, but I have no control over it. So I'm much better if I meditate before I go live because, like, I'm able to stay focused. Okay, Instagram has a ton of different accounts that are like alkaline, alkaline vegan, alkaline this, that. And there was one specific one, and I'm not gonna say who they are because I'm not gonna be that person, but like, last year I spent a lot of time experimenting and cooking, and I was even putting together like all this stuff because I was experimenting so much. And I was like trying out different things. And so I was trying to make like a dip. When one day I was like, well, everyone makes like these cashew cheeses and cashew dips, and I don't eat cashews. So I made a Brazil nut dip because I was like, it's alkaline. Bad idea. Because too many Brazil nuts will cause selenium toxicity. I talk about this all the time. You really can only have one Brazil nut a day, or you get hair loss and inflammation and all this crazy stuff. And so there was this one alkaline like account, again I won't say who it was, that put that same exact recipe on there, like a Brazil nut dip. And I was like, no, you cannot post this. I was really mad. They deleted my comment. And I don't usually do that. I'm not like one of those annoying people that's like bothering everyone on social media. I'm like, you'll learn for yourself. But I think it's also very irresponsible to not, like, they're not educated enough. And I was like, you're gonna put people at risk for a toxic thing like that and just keep it up because it's a nice looking post. This is part of the problem that I have so much with social media because like, and I hope I'm not a hypocrite in any way. It's always possible, but that really gets to me. That's why I try to be cautious about what I say and everything, okay? So that really bothers me a lot. And probably one of the things that irks me a lot about social media is like all these influencers that post what they eat in a day and their diet and stuff like that, and like um just not everyone has the same health, and it really, I'm even guilty of doing that to an extent. But like, there was even a person that I know that posted like this recipe, and I was like, see, you can have that, but someone with like diabetes or other extreme health issues would not be able to touch that, you know? And that's the problem that I have, is like these dietitians on Instagram that like they haven't had health issues and then they're coming out and saying, you, this is what you eat, this is what you do. And I'm like, you don't know what you're talking about. So this is Joss behind the scenes, when I'm just like, social media is positive and negative all at the very same time. Okay, we got off on a tangent. See, this is why I was giving myself plenty of time because I knew this was going to happen. I was like, Joss is going to go crazy. But hey, whatevs. So, let me see if I can pull up the other comments. And I know I sound like a know-it-all, but you gotta be these days. Health is on the line. Uh, where did I put it? Oh, yeah. Where was it? Hi, Pisces. Welcome to your. Sorry. That was awesome. Okay, where did it go? There it is. Here we go. Now I can pull it up here. Okay, good. See, I'm way off on these questions. Okay, let's try to get into some of these. Oh yeah, so I was gonna tell you guys too. I like linked on the front of my page one of my, like, a video that I made 3 years ago on quantum physics. This was a long time ago. I was like baby Joss then. But you guys can check out that video because I kind of go through all the experiments and stuff in quantum physics, and that's like I break it down in simplified terms. And so it's very like easy to understand. It's just like the basics. I don't get too complicated in that, but I made that video if you guys ever want to go check it out because I had a few questions like that were asking like how to take a beginner's approach to looking into quantum physics a little bit more. Okay. Okay, I thought I would get into this. I'll do one personal one. So Adrian asked, I'd love to hear your origin story as far as reading tarot and working as a shaman. What got you into such a unique line of work? Okay. Um, where do I begin? So I first started seeing tarot readers. When was it? Probably my early 20s. I was just like, can you see me now? Maybe I was not meant to talk about that. That was so crazy. Um, Maybe I won't get into that question because that was like tripping me out. Okay. Um, I know that sounds superstitious. Sorry. So, what else was I gonna say? Okay. Should we do, let's do some of these. Okay. No, it's a sign. Yeah, I think it's a sign. Don't talk about that. That's hilarious. It won't let me go back too far on the questions, so I'll do what I can. Oh, perfect. Um, let's see. That's a good question, Allie. I don't know if she's still in here. Office had 3 people that have cancer at the same time. Thoughts on if it's related? Kinda. I if you were to kind of apply certain things that Gabriel Mate has said, he talks about how like the way that trauma is manifesting these days is health conditions like cancer and things like that because it's and like autoimmune issues and everything like that. It's like it's not only chemical, but I think when chemical things are thrown off and then people come into relationship with each other, like it's fascinating that I have seen it literally too play out in threes. Like 3 people get cancer, 3 people have like these issues. I can't say for sure. Okay. I only have like, you know, I can't say it because I'm, yeah, but possible. Who knows? See, like, yeah, okay. Mine's a bouncy ball. I am Uranian. Major need for a question can't get clear. Do I keep with this manifesting karmic clearing or drop it and run? Spirit says keep saying stick with it, but going slowly mad. Yeah, like sometimes when you get into cleansing stuff or clearing karma, whatever you want to call it, sometimes you can go a little bonkers because you're like, and you have to make sure also that you don't verge too much into the obsessive side of it, where you become consumed by like being perfect. Keep at it, but be relaxed and try to take a fun approach to it. Okay? Because like if you get too beating up on yourself, like that will backtrack. Or the frustration part, it might be like you need to bring something fun or lighthearted into your process just to ease off a little bit, because that can totally happen. That's funny. Hemp seeds are really, really good. They have all the amino acids in them. Social media. um, yeah, it's all on us. I was talking about this before, like it's not it's not gonna get taken out of the grocery stores anytime soon. So it's up to you to be educated and make the right decisions about what you're putting into your bodies and everything. We're here for the tangents. That's good. You know, I mean, I guess I agree. I do occasionally eat mushrooms in salads and stuff, and I eat them raw. I actually really like them sometimes. Not all the time, and I'm very specific about the ones I eat, but yeah, I know. Vimeo, don't even get me started on that topic. Okay, we will come up with another solution. Oh, that's good. Yeah, dang on tomatoes. They are acidic, but I still, yeah, it's hard for me to let go of those. Oh, yes. Okay. Sorry, I'm just getting caught up on the comments. I know that this is probably boring, but I'm just trying to make sure that I get the questions. Reading material? Yeah, if you guys want to, on my website, it's on like every video in the description box. I actually have a book recommendation list that goes right to my website, and you guys can check out any book recommendations that are there. I posted the ones that kind of got me into quantum physics. So the beginning ones that I started to read, like science, Biology of Belief is a popular one by Bruce H. Lipton, but there's also a really good one called Molecules of Emotion by Candace Pert. That's a really good book. It actually was really captivating. I know like people would be like, it's science. Like it actually was a really good book, and I think she's a really great lady. Ooh, there is something loosening up right there. Oh, should we talk about Eclipse? Oh, there's actually a lot of comments here on the eclipse. These are questions like I was doing the Instagram ones first, which I know were probably not very impressive answers, and I'm so sorry. But, I do what I can. I did some from YouTube, not all. There's quite a lot. There's actually a lot of really freaking good ones on. Okay, but we've got some time. I was gonna spend another, like, maybe hour or so. So we got chill time. And whoever sent the 9.99, thank you. I don't even see where that super chat came in. So thank you so much. Man. Okay, let's take a little intervention from the questions and talk about the eclipse, okay? The eclipse. Okay, so obviously it's in Scorpio season. Some things that have been playing out, certain themes, lots of pop-ups out of nowhere. And one thing that you guys will want to be like a little bit aware of, I hate to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. Um, any kind of falling off track that you might experience, this is why I believe so much in entanglement. Like, let's say that you fall off of your routine for a day or something, or you lose, like, you just don't do something that you normally need to do to keep yourself in balance. Entanglement wise, like, it's possible that if you guys are trying to maintain boundaries with particular people in your life, that they'll send in flying monkeys, and that's such a negative term. I actually hate using that term, but I've been seeing like a lot of people that will test your boundaries and try to like send in other empaths to manipulate with guilt so that you lower your boundaries, and like it's all about trying to like people that you're maintaining boundaries with, like trying to get you to come back in, or else like it's like you'll be in a rock and a hard place between not communicating with someone to maintain your boundaries and like it affecting your reputation, like that selfishness and how it makes you look and how like people can manipulate the way that you look as a human, you know. So keep that in mind, just random things like that, but here's here's what I'll tell you I've noticed from eclipses. Okay, every time an eclipse comes in, it will reflect like chemical stuff in your body going on. And depending on what's happening, like sometimes an eclipse, this actually happened to a client of mine, that when an eclipse came in, they pretty much went into a dark night of the soul for like 6 months. Okay, right when the eclipse hit. And like you can, if you don't stay conscious, and like I talked a lot about that, like continue to move upward rather than going back or dealing with Stockholm syndrome or anything like that, you that's how you get pulled into a dark night. That's sometimes what I've seen happen with um, solar eclipses. Okay, this one's a weird one because it's a really interesting time loop. Kind of going back to the question that I addressed at the very beginning of the live, how, like, can you go back in time? Eclipses to me are time portals, like the chemical thing. It's like you will maybe feel nostalgic or things are weirdly similar in some ways because it might actually be that you're hitting the core of some kind of memory or a chemical thing that was programmed inside of your body, maybe something traumatic that happened over the past 2 or 3 years. And eclipses to me will bring that to the forefront. And if you fall out of consciousness and you go into your own shadow rather than staying conscious and aware, and maybe choosing a different choice than what your normal pattern is, then you can digress or you can progress. It's up to you on like the consciousness aspect, but that's always a theme that I see. It's like eclipses to me are these pivotal moments of almost like a crossroads energetically. And they will, like, for example, okay, where was the eclipse? Where was I reading that? What was it again? Actually, no, let me talk about this a little bit. Um, that's good. That's so interesting. I've seen like that ghee everywhere, and I don't know what that stuff is. Um, okay, here's what I was gonna talk about, because like Mars is going retrograde on the 30th, and I was looking at some really fascinating information on it. So, like, let me go back through the signs and tell you guys like which house it's gonna be hitting the Mars retrograde. Because what I've seen happen when Mars goes retrograde, and this is sometimes how I've approached it, when Mars goes retrograde, it can bring up like issues that were left open ended, and there's any type of negative feelings based around that. So, if things were unresolved, if there was any kind of conflict, because Mars is a warrior, it's aggressive and it's fiery. So, if like if anything was left in conflict without being resolved, those issues can come back around. So it's almost like a Mercury retrograde, but it's like with specific situations that are related to Mars. Especially for those of you, if you know anything about your astrocartography and you've connected with people that are like on your Mars line, or you lived in locations that you like live on your Mars line or anything like that, you will attract any kind of those, they will come back around because those feelings of it being unresolved or any kind of resentment that's been building emotionally will probably come up at this time. Also, Mars, to me, directly affects fire signs, obviously Aries, but I've also seen that it like affects even Leos, maybe a little bit of Sag, but not as much. But here's what I was getting at. Um, Mars going retrograde, I talked about this in Aries reading specifically, but you might feel like it requires extra effort. Mars direct is very energetic, very motivated, very competitive, fiery. But when it goes into retrograde, it's like getting up and doing the normal things that were very easy before feel a little bit more restricted or less motivation. It's that kind of stuff. So, the way that I usually approach it is I will set up things in my reality to be more like easy to do my routines, you know? So, it's like, for example, when Mars was retrograde last year, I moved into a place and I made sure that I was right next door to like gym and yoga. Like, so that I couldn't even come up with an excuse to not drive there because like sometimes you can just struggle, and that helped me a lot. So anything that you can do at this time, I know that might not sound like the easiest solution, but anything that you can do to make things very smooth and easy and like what's the word I'm looking for? Like smooth, easy. What's the word? It's right here. It's right on the tip of my tongue. What is it? Smooth, easy. Anyone? Anyone read my mind what it is? Thank you, Christy, for the 9.99. That's who sent it. What was it? Sorry, I'm getting distracted. What was it? What's the word? Are you guys commenting? Yes, the solar eclipse does unveil things. um, Hidden things come to light during the eclipses. Sagittarius, where was it? Do you guys know the word I'm looking for? Sorry, going through the comments. Yeah, the aggression might feel a bit more, but it depends on the sign. Sorry, I was gonna go through all the signs, but I was trying to figure out that freaking word. I'll have to come back to it because I'm getting way too distracted. Convenient. There it was. Convenient. Make things as convenient as possible. So anything that's requiring double effort, see how you can um, create better productivity and convenience in your routines, in your anything that you have going. Thank you, Lily. Did you put that before? Thank you for saying that. Convenient, flow, perfect. Up. Sorry, guys. That's so hilarious. Thank you, Kiki, for the 1999. Thank you so much. Okay. Wow. I can't move on unless I get it. So I'm so sorry. Wowza. All right. So that's so funny. Yeah, sorry, peeps. This is how I do it. Okay, I was gonna go through the signs. Mars retrograde. So let's start with Aries. Let me think. What was it again? So Aquarius was which one was it again? I wrote this down, so let me pull it up because that Mars retrograde will affect at the end of this month until January. Thank you guys. You're so unbelievably sweet. Here we go. So, perfect. Yeah. So for Aries, should we start with there? I just want to make sure I'm in the right house of where it's going to be affected. Yes. Yeah, that's right. Okay, so that was 11, 12, 1, 2, 3. Yes, perfect. Okay, sorry guys. Do not know how you deal with me, but okay. So Aries, where Mars retrograde will be hitting you, and I know I should be talking about the eclipse, but to be honest, I'd rather get into Mars a little bit right now, and we'll try to dive into the eclipse stuff. Okay. Thank you, Juliana, for the 1999. So, all right. Aries years will be hitting your third house of communication. So that's why I was talking about anything revolving like communication issues. Those things will come back. Any arguments and unresolved ones will come back around, okay, in some way. So it might need it like retrogrades are always re anything like retrospect, rethinking things, redoing. It's like about that something needs to be reevaluated when it comes to the way that you're communicating. So if your communications aren't very effective, if they're not really getting you results that you want in some arena, like for those of you, if you are public speakers, or if you are communicating in work, or if you're doing any kind of online communications, anything involving third house communications, you will have something come back around because it needs to be readdressed or it needs to be redone, whatever you want to call it there. Okay. For Taurus will be hitting, Mars retrograde will be hitting your second house. So it's all about money things. Ah, so, oh. So, Taurus, this will be very interesting. Thank you, Mando, for the $2. Thank you, Georgia, for the 5. It's good to see you, Georgia. So, and remember, you can check your sun, moon, or rising. They should semi affect with the Mars retrograde. But Taurus, yours will be affecting your second house. So it could be that, like, when Mars goes retrograde, if there's any kind of frustrations or anything that makes you want to dig your heels in, since you've got like that aspect of yourself, there could be certain ways that your emotions want to express themselves through spending habits. So if you either overspend or that's the way that you therapeutically deal with situations is like you jump on Amazon or you do anything like that, you'll have to kind of redo or readdress certain spending habits and how you're allocating your finances and money. So anything that could be popping up at that time, Mars is feels a little frustrating, and especially retrograde. It's like things won't be moving as much, and sometimes it can slow down in a particular area. So sometimes it can be frustrations in finances, you know what I mean? But it might be good to just look at how your emotions are specifically affecting your finances and your financial spending habits and find some good affirmations to, like, maybe some Abraham Hicks, like just diving into positive affirmations. And because it's not like you have to limit yourself, it's just about really dealing with a lot of the psychological effects of how the pandemic affected us over the past few years, because even that could have been traumatic. It can cause these like holding on to a lot of things because I don't know what's going to happen, and that can turn into hoarding and like things accumulating too much. So those kind of things would be good to kind of look at. It's like to how to loosen that grip psychologically of how things could have been affecting you. Okay. Okay, so Gemini, yours will be hitting your first house. So this is all about your temper, okay? This also might like be frustrations around being seen or being heard. Interestingly, because first house is all about self and confidence and like how you're seen. It's like, the sun is the first perception of how you're being looked at. And if there's any kind of issues, like I said, of being overlooked and it's depleting you, wow, that's very interesting. Because there could have been certain issues that happened over the past year, Jem, that you like, maybe you weren't at your most confident, or you had to kind of like, you might have some things that built up where you want to readdress a situation where you didn't feel like you got to fully express yourself or, like stand up for yourself in a particular way. So that could come back around. And, or certain things that were just glossed over in the past because you felt like you needed to, maybe even out of survival. Those emotional buildups will probably play out in a particular way, and how it shortens your temper could even just be with day-to-day interactions. Do you know what I mean? So it might be good to take a look at like those buildups. They will probably come up emotionally through like I said, it might manifest at a different level. The things that you do for your self-confidence, right? Because that's first house. You maybe things will slow down or you don't have as much motivation because you feel like you're being looked over or like you really want to go for an opportunity but you haven't had the full confidence to do it. This is totally a good time to address because the certain things that you might have been going to because you thought like this is what I need to do to build it up might get rearranged or thrown off a little bit, and you have to kind of find a different approach on how to, which might actually be good because it might actually ignite some new creative ways that you can do things. It might be a good way to get out of your structure or whatever you've been doing for a while. Okay, that was more intuited. That was very interesting. Um, yeah, I think definitely speak your truth. These comments are cracking me up. Okay, let's dive into Cancer. Cancer, for you, um, this Mars retrograde will be in your 12th house. 12th house is the house of Pisces, so it's spiritual undoings, anything related to that. Um, it's all the subconscious. And this can also bring up somewhat of animalistic impulses. Like, for example, what was I going to say? Okay. Anytime something is happening in the 12th house, I'm like, okay, so there's like all these interconnections because 12th house is spirituality, it's the subconscious, and it's the house of undoing, it's like it's Pisces. So it's like one part of you wants to do this thing because you think it would bring more evolution and growth to your life, but then there's another aspect of you that's like pulling in a different direction. That's always. So, what can happen during this time, maybe till like January? Look, I'll just be straight up. And the fact that you're Cancerian and you've got stuff going on in the 12th house related to your cousin sign of Pisces, it can totally be anything based around addictive behaviors and any type of chemical imbalance that's happening there that's like becoming too extreme. They can come out as emotional frustrations. Okay. So it might be good to find a way to temper those or soften. I would also like as much as possible to spend as much time in meditation and yoga. So you're probably gonna need it. Anytime 12th house stuff comes up, I'm like, because it can be health issues, um, all sorts of stuff like that. Okay. Might be that more emotionally you want to go to something to soothe yourself because subconsciously there's some stuff being ignited. With it being Mars too, a lot of your thought processes are going to have anything that are coming up, maybe even repressed rage or anger. Might be really good to find a good approach to that at this time. Okay. Reassess. Leo, the Mars retrograde will be affecting your 11th house. So this will be hitting on social networking. 11th house is Aquarius. It's your opposite sign. So it's frustrations in reevaluating any type of social networking because there could have been some issues that have come up there. And um, it's like about getting everyone in sync when it comes to a community effort. So for Leos, if you are leaders or if you are um, someone in an organization or even a friend group, there could be misalignments happening or things just kind of like getting thrown off the structure. And it could be this interesting entanglement or reflection of how like you're still coming into alignment with yourself and like getting on track. Maybe you are restructuring certain things in your life, and maybe certain people are reflecting certain vulnerable aspects that like you have felt unconsciously, like at a subconscious level. So this will be a good time, like anything that feels that fieriness, it's helping you to like get back, put yourself back together. Because I think this probably will be a time where you're looking back at when you were at your at the top of your game, or when you were in a point of time in your life where you were very successful, and how there was a reflection of that in your outward reality when it came to friends and social networking, and everything was working like clockwork. Now you have to take a different approach and find a way to restructure things and find a creative way to pull in your social networking in a very coherent way, okay, to get everyone working like a clock. So it's like producing what you want to produce, whatever that means. Okay. So any chaos or friends is because of the Mars retrograde. Okay. Virgo, your Mars will be hitting the 10th house in your career. Okay. And this can be like that typical spinning your wheels, and when it comes to career efforts and feeling like you're not like getting ahead, but you feel as though you're on the right path, but you're like kind of hitting a brick wall when it comes to certain aspects of career. Oh, so there might be reassessing how your career is being portrayed, because it'll be kind of like if you're not getting the engagement that you're wanting, or like things like that, it might be that you have to redo certain aspects of your career and how it's being portrayed. Okay. Sometimes these can be rebrands or restructuring. Um, it's a lot of fine tuning. So again, tiny little details of career aspect. Like I said, it's like you're putting a bunch of effort into it, and Virgos are like hard workers, they're dedicated, but it's like something might not feel like it's moving forward. And it's not that you have to give up at all. It just might mean like playing around with your approach. Like I do it all the time on the channel. I'll just put stuff out there and I'm like, okay, like whatever, and just try it out. Like see what gets you a result and start analyzing, okay, like this does really good. This gets me a good approach, or this gets like views, and try to integrate it in with your passion. Passion might feel a little tricky to get it going during Mars retrograde, but you just have to find a different way to activate it. So try to be open, maybe outside ideas or anything like that, to take a different approach to your career tactics. Okay. Libra. Okay. Libra. So for Libras, we've got it hitting the ninth house. Sheesh. Um, good. Okay. So for you, Libra, it's all about like, since it's ninth house, it's higher education. And you might be dealing with certain situations that are growing you. But I feel as though, especially for Libras and coming out of Libra season, there was a lot of truth that was coming up to the surface. You could have been assessing certain things about what you were absorbing or anything like that, and realizing like it was affecting somehow the way that you perceive things and the truth of things. So there might also be some opportunities. Ninth house can be travel, and it's like wisdom, exploration. You might have some things to come up where you have to kind of embrace the unknown. It'll make you stronger, but I think that that might be some things that come up. It's like long-term goals for you, and really looking at what you're doing right now and how alignment it is, in like if there's a connection there between what you're doing currently and if it's in alignment with your long-term goals, and just really getting down to the nitty-gritty details of that connection, okay? But this might also be a time too where you're going to be learning a lot about like just absorbing a lot of information. It's not very action oriented. It'll actually be like, for you Libras especially, it might be good for you. This is coming up randomly. It might be good for you to have, like, maybe not go for those of you that work out a lot. I'm not telling you not to work out. I'm saying, like, if you lose a bit of motivation, it might be good for you to take, like, a bit of a different workout style, or try something different, like learn something about how to approach this motivation aspect, because it's going to help you down the road in some weird particular way, combined with like your career aspects, not career, but your aspirations. Sorry, that's what I was trying to get at. Scorpio. Oh my gosh, wow, Scorps. You're the Mars retrograde is hitting your exact eighth house. You rule the eighth house. Isn't that interesting? Okay. Isn't that interesting? So you are in the midst of transforming, and whether you guys are going with that or not is going to um, show up in specific ways, okay? Boundaries will come up big time, because especially for those of you, if you're coming into yourself and you're actually like setting some good boundaries, great. Because your transformation might actually be connected to your web, like who you're connected to and how it's like affecting you. So if there are energies you know you need to keep boundaries with, because like transformations to me are a little bit more effective when you are on your own. So it's not to say you guys have to be single or you have to go off and be some crazy hermit, but when you're recalibrating, like you're pretty much being forced to transform. And eighth house and 12th house are both health related. Okay. There also could be a lot of stuff coming up around taxes, but we are right, not only in your season, but Mars retrograde is actually hitting your eighth house. Like that's your house. So the intensity of the last few months of this year will be directly correlated with how much you're putting boundaries up, how much you're going toward your transformation, and how much you're approaching health aspects. Okay, we're all in that boat, so you're not like isolated or singled out by any means, but that will be a theme for you over this retrograde. Um, so any distractions, anything that is getting in the way of your transformation, you'll just feel the stress or just the emotional buildup, especially around boundaries. Like I've talked about this before. Sometimes when you put a boundary up, it feels like counterintuitive because you think that you're going to feel strong and more empowered, but sometimes you actually feel really freaking afraid because it's like there's a core thing about you being connected to a tribe. And when you're putting boundaries up with those energies, it feels like a survival and it can bring up a lot of stress. So keep that in mind because you're kind of being pushed to transform to the next version of yourself during this season. The more you just go along with it, the easier it's going to be. Okay. Yeah, it might be boundaries are pushed just a little bit more than usual. Okay. So I do agree. That's so funny, Lily. I'm not a Scorpio. I think hermit mode comes naturally and feels extremely comfortable for Pisceans. Yeah, I think that's typical. I think most Pisceans during the pandemic were like chill. Anyway, okay, Sagittarius. Yours will be hitting seventh house, so any partnerships, there could be conflicts coming up between any partnerships, just significant others. You'll just pretty much be really assessing how you address conflict in your partnerships, like how exactly to respond. Do I become fiery in this situation? Do I stand up an emotional reaction? If it's like a lot of assessing the way that you conflict resolute, the way that you come at conflict. Like, and it might actually be good for you to read any material about fight, flight, freeze response, or fawn, diving into those kind of what are conflict resolution styles. That would be really good to just observe or to integrate. And also, I would say, too, when it comes to you dealing with partnerships, you might actually find that as long as you're doing something Mars-ish, workout, sports, conflict might not be as like fiery because you're channeling it before you deal with any social interactions or relationships, okay? But yeah, it might be that your initial response is to be fiery, and you might, like in certain partnerships, have to find a way that encourages people and come at things opposite of Mars, more Libran, diplomatic, like peacemaker, come at it with love and compassion. Because the first response might be easy, you could totally fire off, but that doesn't always get the result. So it's like about trying different ways to either get things on track. It really depends on the type of partnerships you're dealing with, if they're actually like your allies or your enemies. So it's like that will be something that you'll be playing around when it comes to your partnerships, and you'll probably see that you have better results if you're channeling Mars in a very productive way. Like I said, anything Mars is working out. And that might feel some days you don't like have the effort, but you will feel the motivation when you see a better response in your relationship interactions based off of if you like worked out or not. If you took care of your body and self-care, that will be a motivational piece for you, okay? Capricorn, yours is hitting Shamanama. What is it? Did I get that wrong? No. Yeah, Capricorn, yours is hitting sixth house. So Virgo. Oh, wow. Interesting. You could be putting, like, taking something apart and putting it back together at this time. And it's all health. Sixth house is health and jobs and routines, like Virgoan things. So for you, yeah, it might be that you're restructuring things. Like I said, like daily routines or small things about your habits, because it's like you're trying to work toward a dream. It might actually come up somewhat in January, the potential for you to do something. So right now, it'll be good for you to get some kind of situation set up for yourself and put together some kind of system that's like going to reach a goal that you have. That's the end part for you. So, um, and at times you might feel like, you know, you see that some momentum gathers when you actually like are productive in your day. Magical things will happen around you that will be showing like progress in certain areas that were stagnant. It's all an entanglement that's based off of how productive you're being, and that Mars retrograde, like I said, it can kind of feel like you know, routines are a little bit of a struggle, but it might be because you're like taking it apart and putting it back together. But anything that was disconnected within yourself, that's why you're restructuring things, because it's like you're going to be putting everything, all those fragmented pieces of yourself, pulling them back together. Okay, so you're like moving into more of a place of alignment. Aquarius. Yours will be hitting fifth house. And that is that? No, that's not Mars. That's first house. Yours will be through, so it might be that the things that you normally felt passionate about, hobbies, um, sports routines, exercise, dating, even anything fifth house is like love affairs. It might be a little bit of a lack of like it just simmers down. Where you had first felt kind of like, oh my gosh, you felt all this fire, it might just kind of like come down a little bit. So for you, it's all about finding ways that you can like reactivate the passion, you know? It might have to, you have to get kind of creative at this time and find out how you can like find a way. If you're struggling to pull up passion within yourself, it'll be like you have to kind of find a different approach to getting. Are we back? There we go. Okay. Yeah, I'll have to try to find the time stamp because this was kind of randomly in the middle. But out of this, you might actually come up with some new hobbies because it's kind of like you'll probably be searching for something. When you feel that fire go down, then you're like, shoot, like, how do I get it back up again? So you might actually start some new things or, you know, things that you'd always been curious about. For example, um, I've been like looking at different things to start up. This is actually pretty appropriate. But I have always, for the past couple of years, come across, like, especially when I was living in a couple of different cities, there were these bar classes. And I always looked at them and I was like, could I do that? Because it seemed so feminine, and I was like, yeah, yeah, I've always been curious. So it's like any things that you've been looking at over the past couple of years, like maybe dancing or just something very different. It might be good to pull in a new hobby, something that at first you might feel a little bit like new at it, but it'd be really good because like the progress that you see there, Aquarius, you might have already mastered like certain things that you've done and they're just kind of burning out, or you're just kind of like, well, I've already like mastered it. I'm the best at it. I'm like Queen of Wands or King of Wands in this particular area. I'm the best. It'll be good for you to get back into that naive place, like a page, and see the build up again, like see the progress and see where you're lacking, and it will give you motivation or reignite your passion. It's just like skill building and creating more talents and skills for yourself, okay? Pisces. Pisces, yours is hitting fourth house. So you might be dealing with any kind of struggles with family or your home. Like frustrations, feeling a lack of energy sometimes in your home or the way that that's been happening, that's going to be coming up during this whole time. Okay. So, frustrations when it comes to home life and how it's affecting, like, sometimes it can be pent up rage. Okay. So, yes, anything regarding your home life, this is what's going to come up. Anything that you had not been completely satisfied with your family or your home life will be a little bit more magnified right now during this Mars retrograde. And I think what it'll do, um, it's all the things that you've been keeping to yourself for whatever reason, and they might boil up to the surface. Okay. So I also do think that Pisces are very capable of that because, like, um, find a good outlet, like, find it. I'm not gonna say what I do. Sometimes it's helpful though, but um, like maybe finding ways to express whatever is pent up inside of you. So maybe a therapist. But yeah, like sometimes just like go to a place that's really secluded, have a good scream, and just let the rage out. Because what I was going to say is, I think that Pisces can go through this thing where, like, you might like sometimes come across as gullible or giving people too many chances. And then when people push a boundary too much, this yeah, scream in a bottle, this energy can build up because like maybe at the beginning you were trying to be open and giving and then someone pushed too far. And it might be that you need to let the rate. But what I was trying to say is that from what I've noticed, this is not all Pisces, but Pisces can like explode from buildups that are not being communicated. Okay. It's like resentments or things that are building up. So, like I said, find a good outlet to really get the frustration out. Maybe go get into boxing, or that literally works. So it could be something like that to try to work on the aggression part and then like try to go in with effective communicating skills to really have the conversations. Some of you guys will have people or situations where you can't communicate. Like maybe there are people that, like, maybe you've had abusers and you're not going to communicate with those people. It's good to write a letter, write down what you're feeling. Just say whatever you want to say. Call them whatever you want to call them. Say it in the letter. It really helps. I never believed that when people said that. It really does help. Okay. So, yeah, for those of you that you can't really go in and have those effective conversations, and because some of you guys, you might actually be surprised that there are some people you could have communications with and you would have receptive, maybe apologies, or there would be compromises. But in the situations that you're dealing with where you cannot communicate your frustrations or energy, yeah, it totally can be passive aggressive. So in those situations, like I said, try to write a letter, listen to some Abraham Hicks, you know, and I would especially look at her stuff around like revenge because it's kind of helpful to just feel that that's an acceptable emotion and like impulse. Okay. Wow, we really dove into that. Did we get everyone? Yeah. Okay, I really was just gonna do the quantum stuff, but people were asking about the eclipse, and so I thought I would dive into Mars retrograde. But the eclipse will be kind of the catalyst that's gonna be right. Like Mars retrograde is on the 30th, the eclipse is in 2 days. So that's why I wanted to talk to you guys about these moments of like going into shadow or coming into consciousness. Like it really is a crossroads that I always see. And Stockholm syndrome is really powerful at this time because if you have this opportunity to go into the unknown or you want to go back into comfort, don't go back to the comfort, don't look back. These are these pivotal times. Okay. I'll try to find the time point where I started diving into all the signs, but yeah, and then maybe I'll jump on. Oh, we'll see. I don't want to promise anything because this week is going to be um pretty active. I know I didn't get to all the questions. I will, I'll try to do this every week. So we'll have plenty of time to get to people's questions and address like what people want to ask. And you guys can sit and think on any other questions that you have. But there are some really good ones, like people that were asking about quantum physics and cord cutting and things like that. I'll totally talk about them next week or maybe put them on my Instagram live. Okay. Okay. I think I'm going to jump off. This was literally the time. Oh, yeah, this keeps doing this. So I'm going to jump off. So thank you guys for jumping on. I love you so much. And yeah, I'll see you guys. We'll see how much I can keep up on this. But I just thought it'd be fun to do. So think of any questions you have and drop them over in the community board section or over on my Instagram. Okay. Okay. Have an amazing night, and I will definitely see you guys in the next readings, okay? Thank you again for jumping on. You guys are the best. Thank you for being so supportive and just engaging and being so fun. I love getting into the comments. It's so like, it's actually very fun. So thanks for making this so fun to do. Okay. I'll see you guys soon. Take care of yourselves and have a good night or a good day wherever you are in the world or whatever time you're watching this, okay? Bye.